On January 27, 2025, a fracture appeared in the foundation of the global economy. In a single violent trading session, Nvidia, the $3 trillion architect of the modern world, watched $600 billion of its market valuation evaporate into the digital ether. It was the largest single-day loss in financial history. This was not a slow decay or a predicted market correction. It was a decapitation. The executioner was not a rival silicon titan like Intel, or a state-sponsored entity with infinite capital. It was a $6 million project birthed by a quantitative hedge fund in Hangzhou called DeepSeek. For the architects of the status quo, this was an existential nightmare. For the disenfranchised aspirant, it was the first time the quiet part out loud had been broadcast in high definition. The system is not just rigged, it is profoundly, structurally fragile. We have been conditioned to believe that success is a product of brute force, that if you work harder, spend more, and grind longer, you will eventually earn your place at the table. This is the great lie of the $1 trillion empires. They want you to believe in the linear progression of effort because they own the ladder. But Liang Wenfeng, the 40-year-old engineer behind DeepSeek, didn't try to outclimb the incumbents. He practiced asymmetric warfare. By spending a mere $6 million to train the R1 model, a sum that amounts to a rounding error in Silicon Valley's coffee budget, he proved that intelligence is no longer a luxury good owned by the gatekeepers. He didn't just build a better AI, he executed a psychological strike against the very concept of moats and proprietary hardware. The shockwaves from this $6 million geek-first strategy revealed a terrifying cognitive bias held by the elite, the sunk cost fallacy. Big tech had bet trillions on the idea that the only path to dominance was through massive, inefficient clusters of H100 chips. They were so blinded by their own scale that they failed to see the arbitrage opportunity of efficiency. Liang Wenfeng didn't need to win a war of attrition. He only needed to prove that the Titan's armor was made of paper. The moment the world realized a $6 million insurgent could perform at the level of a $100 billion incumbent, the zero-sum game changed forever. The question isn't how DeepSeek broke Nvidia. The question is, how will you use this same psychological arsenal to break the systems that are currently harvesting your potential? To understand the DeepSeek shock, we must perform a forensic breakdown of the mind of its architect. Liang Wenfeng is not a hustle culture influencer selling courses on Instagram. He is a quantitative strategist who understands that the market is a chaotic system governed by efficiency, not morality. His decision to stockpile chips before export bans took hold was not a gamble. It was a calculated move to secure the physical layer of his insurgency. He understood that in a rigged system, the first rule is to secure your sovereignty before the gatekeepers realize you're a threat. He operated in the shadows, focusing on code optimization and architectural elegance, while his competitors were busy peacocking at Davos. This is the missing key that most aspirants overlook. You are taught to seek job security, which is a euphemism for dependent vulnerability. Liang Wenfeng's strategy was built on the science of belief. Specifically, the belief that massive scale is a liability, not an asset. By utilizing a mixture of experts architecture, DeepSeek only activates the parts of the brain it needs for a specific task. It is lean, predatory, and surgical. Most people navigate their financial lives like the incumbents. They over-leverage their time. They overspend on status symbols, the H100s of social capital, and they wonder why they are exhausted. They are running the brute force algorithm in a world that now rewards algorithmic efficiency. The asymmetric bet framework used here is simple yet lethal. Find a sector where the incumbents are bloated by their own success, then use low-cost open-source tools to provide the same value at 1/100th of the overhead. This is not starting a business, this is an insurgency. When Liang released the R1 model as open source, he wasn't being a philanthropist, he was destroying the pricing power of his enemies. He turned their primary product into a commodity overnight. This is the ultimate form of strategic dominance, making it impossible for your opponent to profit from the old rules, while you have already mastered the new ones. If you are waiting for a fair opportunity to enter the market, you have already lost. The system is designed to be a zero-sum game, where your labor is the fuel for someone else's compounding interest. The DeepSeek saga is your blueprint for the prison break. The gatekeepers want you to believe that high-ticket services, AI consulting, legal research, sophisticated software engineering, require a massive credential moat. They are wrong. With the arrival of models like DeepSeek R1, the cost of expert-level intelligence has effectively dropped to near zero. We are entering an era of the sovereign individual who can out-execute a mid-sized corporation using nothing but a laptop and a refined psychological arsenal. Think about the high-ticket service industries that currently charge $500 an hour for expert analysis. These businesses are built on the cognitive bias of their clients who believe that high price equals high quality. This is an arbitrage opportunity. By using DeepSeek and other open-source tools to automate the thinking and synthesis components of these businesses, you are not just working smarter, you are conducting a raid on their profit margins. You can offer the same strategic dominance for a fraction of the cost, capturing the market while staying invisible. This is how you starve the enemy. You stop paying for their overpriced enterprise solutions and start building your own infrastructure on their graves. However, the missing key here isn't the technology, it's the psychology of implementation. Most people will download these tools and use them to generate content or hustle in the same old ways. They are still thinking like employees. To truly execute an asymmetric bet, you must view these tools as digital serfs that work for you while you sleep. You are no longer the worker, you are the sovereign architect. You are looking for asymmetric returns, where the downside is your time, which you are going to waste anyway, and the upside is a scalable, automated asset that functions as a predator in the marketplace. The greatest obstacle to your prison break isn't the IRS, the banks, or the global elite. It is the internal programming that views financial discipline as a moral failing rather than a strategic defense. We have been fed a diet of consumerist propaganda designed to keep us in a state of high time preference. The system wants you to spend your capital on the very things that reinforce your chains. When you see Liang Wenfeng, you don't see a man who bought a Ferrari the moment he had $1 million. You see a man who funneled every resource back into the engine of disruption. This is the psychology of influence applied to the self. You must treat your financial life as a theater of war. Every dollar spent on status is a bullet given to your captors. Every dollar invested in an asymmetric asset, whether that's a stockpile of hardware, a proprietary data set, or an automated service business, is a brick in your fortress. The quiet part out loud is that the middle class is a social construct designed to provide a buffer for the elite. To escape, you must stop identifying with the middle class and start identifying with the insurgent. You must recognize your own cognitive biases, specifically the authority bias that makes you believe the experts on CNBC or LinkedIn know what they're talking about. They didn't see DeepSeek coming. They didn't see the $600 billion wipeout coming. They are the high priests of a dying religion. Your advantage lies in your ability to be nimble, cynical, and intellectually demanding. You are not looking for stability. You are looking for fragility in the system that you can exploit. The DeepSeek story isn't about AI. It's about the end of the bigger is better era. It's about the fact that a $6 million project can break a $1 trillion empire if the architecture is right. This is the most empowering truth of our time, but it is also the most dangerous. If you do not adopt this psychological arsenal, you will be the one whose value is wiped out in 24 hours. The AI isn't going to take your job. The person using AI to conduct asymmetric warfare against your industry is going to take your livelihood. Your prison break starts with a total reassessment of your value proposition. Are you selling your time? If so, you are a victim of arbitrage. Are you selling a process that can be automated by an R1 class model? If so, you are obsolete. You must move up the stack. You must become the curator of these digital predators. You must build assets that fight the system by providing value that is uncoupled from your physical presence. This is the only way to starve the enemy. When you no longer need their debt, their jobs, or their validation, you have effectively exited the matrix. The system is currently in a state of shock, trying to figure out how to regulate or sanitize the open source revolution to protect their $3 trillion moats. They will fail. The toothpaste is out of the tube, and the geek-first strategy has won. You have a window, perhaps a few years, where the asymmetric bet is still available to the common aspirant. Once the dust settles and the new titans are crowned, the gates will close again. The question is, will you be inside the fortress, or will you be part of the $600 billion of market value that gets erased in the next session?